Hey guys, it's Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nate, and with me I have my esteemed colleagues,
Ted,
Dave,
and Ryan.
And today we're going to be talking about Tieflings and their infernal heritage.
Well, that's the first thing to talk about. Why does it have to be just infernal? Seriously, why can't it just be lower planes? Why can't we all get along?
well, it could be abysmal.
But
they made the deal with Asmodeus.
they're infernally bound in this.
Yeah, so if you actually look at it, it does say, infernal bloodline, and, it's clear cut, but that's kind of my, one of the things I didn't like is there should be no reason why you've got to limit it to only one side of the playing field.
I would have loved it if they would have did plane touched, and did a couple sub
builds. Yeah. Well, you have the Asmar and the Tiefling. Yeah, exactly. So that would have worked, but
I was actually surprised they didn't have the Asmar first.
Because it's more blatantly good than
Although I kind of did find but never mind. It goes back to the Drizzt thing. But what I found
and then we just have to
interesting
take out the Drow, and then it would be fine.
is the way the Tiefling bloodlines work, right? So, in theory, it's a human bloodline, but if a Tiefling has a child, it's a Tiefling,
right?
Yeah.
So, certain races can breed with other races. So you could be like an elven Tiefling, or you could be an orc Tiefling.
Yeah.
Because those all kind of interbreed. And I would actually, if someone was like, I want to be a dwarf Tiefling, I would absolutely allow it. Does it change anything stat-wise? No. But
so it's like, I'm either going to take after the Tiefling side or the dwarf side, one or the other. I'm just going to look a little odd, or...
Yeah, so thematically, though, for backstory and how your character looks, you could definitely play with that, and I thought that was interesting. It didn't quite do the third edition. I mean, not the third edition, the fourth edition iteration of the Tiefling. It's it's somewhere in between the original and fourth edition.
Right. Yeah.
Like in fourth edition, it was this it was a lot more specific. I felt like, where here it's a little more blanketed out. It's more dispersed. And I like the backstory that they give for the Tiefling in this one.
It's not bad. I looked at it as like, with most of the races in here, you have racial choices. The Tiefling, the half-orc, and the half-elf are the only ones that don't have any kind of, either sub-race or choice in the class. These guys said, well, Dragonborn don't have a choice either, but you get to choose one of your 10, draconic bloodline to figure out where you're from.
Well, if you play, this is what I'll do for you, Ted. You play a Tiefling in my campaign, I will give you a can of spray paint, any color you like, and you can color it.
It's
as long as you stay within the lines.
So you're saying you've got infernal. You want to see another fiendish background.
You could have Tiefling.
There's only two others really.
You could have Tiefling, and you could have
you could have put them in
Infernal and Abyssal as your breakdown.
And what's the other one?
The other one, I don't know.
The neutral?
Yeah, the neutral one, the Yugoloth.
Yeah, that's it, Yugoloths. So you could have options, and I mean you're cramped into what you get here. But I mean, even if it was just your stat modifier and what spells you have access to. It could be a little different, and but I mean the way it's written, there is not a way to say, oh well, here's your other option without saying, oh well.
Are you telling me you don't want the Modron version of a Tiefling?
No.
Well, so I mean, really though, you could just change like energy types or whatever. I feel like things like Infernal Legacy, like the castings you get, those work for all the sort of dark and gloomy and creepy things. Like thaumaturgy, it's just I'm creepy, I make windows and doors shudder, or like my voice is booming. Any sort of creepy, like lower planes thing, devilish or demonic, could do those things. So I feel like that's as thematic across the board, that's fine. But what you could do for say the Hellish Resistance, maybe instead of fire, you could change it to acid or whatever. You could switch out the energy resistance type. Not really a big deal for me. I would just say
the language.
Okay, you could have abyssal instead of infernal.
Right.
That would really be the big change.
Language, whatever that is.
That can all be background. It doesn't have to be I mean, really, what's going to change? You get dark vision, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You get infernally terrible fiendish spells, right?
Well, I mean, I just like
you
having.
have a tail sometimes, maybe. A
Well,
wing
you know,
sometimes.
as far as the physical description, I think they should just have as much diversity of anything. Some of the lower planes things have like bird-like features. Some of them have reptilian. I would say that, like, you know, like your character's physical description, they can look as
Well, you
freaky
look
as you
free-
want.
yeah, you look
Yeah,
freakish.
you can make them look as freaky as you want, or maybe more subtle than others, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
they kind of say that a little bit in there. They
Yeah.
give you guidelines that are more towards the specific, but it's definitely easy enough to change. You know, instead of feet, maybe you have the cloven hooves.
Well, that's actually in here, isn't it?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think you might be getting caught up on the word they decided to use, like
Maybe.
Infernal Bloodline, where you could just really have it be whatever bloodline is going to be some kind of demon thing.
Right. Well, I mean, but with the language, it's specifically calling out. Yep, you're of the infernal
whether
lineage.
you're lawful.
You're the
or
law.
chaotic, yeah.
Yeah, but and it's funny too because they're also prone toward chaos, which is really hinting more abyssal. Like when you talk about the general alignments.
Right, Asmodeus is
Yeah.
like the lawful
You know
power
what? They
of
probably
evil.
just wanted
Right.
to avoid using the word demonic.
Well, no, but
When it
abyssal.
comes down to it.
They could have said abyssal at any point too. Abyssal is the exact same means the exact same
Right.
thing.
What, all of them?
From the demons are from the abyss,
Devils are
From hell.
and from the hells. Yeah, exactly. So-
Well, you'd want to include, let's say we wanted to include all of them. We would have to use a particular word, right? To
Oh,
sum up all
lower
that.
planes. Lower planes.
So you could
would
just
be
say
good.
lower planes. Yeah, what, lower planes bloodline? It's not as cool.
So so
No.
technically, Tieflings are from hell, and maybe they just didn't want to say hell.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you know,
Or
they later
generic.
changed it to Bader.
Right. Yeah, something like that. So, I mean, we're getting hung up on a little semantical.
So,
detail
well, for
As
Ted's-
nerds
Ted's-
often do.
Yeah.
For Ted's gripe, I would say the fix is just use different language, and it's pretty much the exact same character.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you don't need a whole another page of a subclass.
I just like options. You know, it's they're there for most of the other races. You know, why does the scant few not have them?
Because you're not supposed to play a Tiefling anyway.
Yeah. They're in there.
Dude, I've got a Tiefling Paladin character rolled up.
Well,
I'm ready
okay,
to
so you
go.
get charisma. Okay, we didn't say anything about like their statistic or anything. So they get +2 to charisma, right, and a +1 to intelligence.
Yeah, so they're good, you know, charisma casters, wizards, bards.
got warlocks, bards, sorcerers, paladins.
balance.
Anything that's charisma driven, they're gonna be good at it. You know, with the +1 of intelligence, so they can do, you know, the wizard as well. Yes, I mean they're pretty much what they've been in previous editions.
Yeah.
You know, as far as that's concerned.
You know what the Tiefling strikes me as? It always strikes me as that, I'm so goth.
Yeah.
Which is why I want to make the one that's, you know, totally against type. I want to make a goodly Tiefling paladin.
Yeah, it's like I wear black all the time, and I maybe put like eyeliner on my eyes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike teenagers who feel oppressed by society, I would
actually
say
are.
They actually are oppressed by all of society, pretty much. Tieflings definitely get the
Well, it says right in here, mutual mistrust.
yeah.
Well, and you know,
They don't have good relations pretty much with anybody.
If you
want
wanna
to start,
talk what other sort of publishers have done with the Tiefling. So like with Paizo, they had their baseline Tiefling with, you know, some alternate builds you can take, but then they produced a splat book that had actually completely whole cloth variants of I take after this specific type of demon or devil or whatever.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, they had ones based off like the succubus or whatever kind of demon you're gonna talk. So like, you know, the stat bonuses were different, the powers are different.
Yeah, and that online game we were playing, play by post, I think Ken was doing something along those lines.
Right, the alternative build. Like I think he was maybe built off of the chitin, the chain devil or whatever.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. So
So,
there's
I mean, you know, they're in the uncommon section, and you know, for good reason, they should be uncommon.
it's pretty weird and creepy.
They're weird and creepy. I mean, they should just be slightly more uncommon than Drow, maybe.
More or
Maybe.
less.
I don't know.
I would say less uncommon than Drow. Drow are
goodly drow that
all
prance
except
around
for
on the
one. They're
surface.
universally reviled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and all Tieflings are universally reviled.
So, you know, we're going to actually have to probably, like, discuss Tieflings with our Griffin Gaff campaign and figure out how they fit into it.
Address them. Yeah.
address them, undress them, something. I don't know.
Redress.
Redress.
So, anything else we're missing? We said the dark vision. They got the normal speed.
I must say, I have no desire to play a Tiefling.
I would play Tiefling. I had an idea for a Tiefling NPC. A bard named Creed, and I would write parody songs of Creed lyrics. With this sort of...
My friend, it sounds like you have way too much time on your hands.
I was talking about this last night. I was like, with that sort of like Jarl style singing.
Well,
where
that's
you sing from the back of your throat and you don't move your lips as you sing. Yeah.
the background stuff with the Tiefling is interesting because they do talk about how they tend to pick ideals or some kind of statement to live up to, and that's
virtue
included.
names.
Yeah, some virtue names, which is included in their name.
They left
That
off.
sounds very chaotic.
They left off goth for some reason.
And I was being facetious.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that wraps up Tiefling.
Chastity. Wow, that's a weird name for a virtue name. It's not really that.
Yeah.
Actually, I should not have said it and just had people go to their page.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to cover with the Tiefling. Yeah, you know, I think as they are, like, it's okay. It's a little blasé. Like, Tiefling is definitely something you need to spice up in your own campaign, or if you're in a setting already. Hopefully, they address them.
Yeah, you got to do the legwork on the background for them. You're not going to get the spice from the straight up.
They're not that.
statistical
Yeah, they're
balance.
pretty cookie cutter right
So,
here.
but with it being there, I mean, if you're interested in a role playing situation, you know, and I'm usually pretty big on that. You know, the idea of playing something that's against, you know, caste. Here's your opportunity to, you know, step forward and say, okay, you know, I'm going to play this character, and yes, I'm going to be the holier than thou, you know, yes, go ahead, ridicule me, tell me to leave, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Or you totally, you know, just accept your heritage. You play your very evil thing, and you play the murderous assassin or the, you know, the dark caster who's a necromancer.
And use
Well,
thaumaturgy
it does
all
say-
the time.
it
Because you
does-
can make 3 of those effects going on all the time. Dude, you can make the creepiest warlock ever. And it would be great.
Well, it does say that
Very
though some
extreme there,
Tieflings, though some
He's very
Tieflings
extreme.
are evil,
Yeah.
they're not all, like the majority is not evil in Tieflings.
Well-
unlike Drow.
No, actually,
Yeah.
it does say that their most common alignment, they do not have an innate tendency toward evil, but many of them end up there.
Yeah. Well, so you know,
I mean, but
a whole
that's...
bunch of first level characters.
Oh, wait,
you know,
open
neutral
up Drow.
good,
What's it say for alignment for
neutral
Drow?
good,
Right.
chaotic good, and then you know you
I
get
need to know.
you get a whole bunch of people being
Are you gonna-
nasty to you your whole life, and you start to go down the path.
Yeah, I
of
would
evil.
think that you'd be resentful too.
Yeah.
In
The resent
stuff.
stacks up until
they
you're
don't,
just
they
like,
don't
all
have
right.
an alignment section under Dark Elf.
Oh, yeah, because it's just under Elf.
This is under Elf.
Yeah, they didn't want to tell you how evil they really are.
Well, so that you know, so
Drow are
you'd be
accepted
playing
or
against
exiled in the
type
Underdark has made
technically.
them vicious and dangerous. Drow are more often evil than not.
So Tiefling less evil than Drow.
Maybe.
So to comment on your extremes, I think with, you know, the RPGs, that's where you tend to go when you're playing things that are the odd. When you're going to play things like a Drow, you know, or a Tiefling that are generally considered evil, you either want to fully embrace it or go completely good, because if you're walking that middle line, you're just going to wind up going towards one extreme or the other, because
So you say start there instead of go there.
the townsfolk and the people that you're going to interact with, they're not going to know how to take you.
It depends on the world too. The setting, like in a planescape, you're fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're-
second glance, but-
Right, you know, but I mean, if you're in a standard setting, and someone is going by what's written in the book, Drow are evil, Tiefling are evil.
We just said
Depending-
the majority of them weren't.
Depending,
Yeah.
I mean,
no,
but,
it says that most of them end up evil.
Yeah.
So-
well, you start out,
but
good,
also too, depending.
and then the people crap all over you and get you really upset, and you start saying, "All right, next town that does this,
Where do I sign
I'm
that?
burning
that
it
pack?
down."
Well, and also too, like, but depending on your setting, Dragonborn are freaking weird too. Like, you know, so I mean, really, depending on how like human centric your world is, everything is odd. Yeah, in comparison. I mean, like I played a Tiefling fighter that he was not in the extreme. He was like middle road. He was a mercenary. He was a soldier of fortune type of character.
And
I mean,
how did the DM and the other players react to that? You know,
it wasn't. It was more of a meat grinder game
Okay.
than a. Than
How did
a
the monsters
role-playing.
react to you?
They all
Yeah,
universally
did you-
wanted to
like,
kill me, but that
why
was
don't
no
you come on
different
this
from any
side
other. Yeah.
where you belong?
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, in that kind of game or that kind of setting, then it doesn't really matter because role playing is kind of being pushed aside.
Right.
But in an actual long-standing campaign where role playing is there, when you're playing these type of races, I think the extremes are where you're either gonna start or end up, and unless you are looking to have play that transition, just go to where you're gonna be, because it's fun to play that side of
I
it.
want to play a totally even keel Tiefling now and prove you wrong.
Dude, you go lawful neutral. Monk. Lawful
Neutral.
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 Oh, yeah, they did.
I think the
they did it with-
transition. I think
Yeah.
playing
On a
the
line.
transition
Just
is.
be on a line.
Well, I mean, that's where the stories are.
That is where a
that's
story
stories are
happens, is
made,
when the
pretty
character
much.
actually has a change. Because if your character ends up the way he started, your character's had absolutely no character development whatsoever,
I found
other
the
than leveling.
extreme. I found the
Yeah.
extremes tend to be caricatures of people. rather
Well,
than-
see, I put those kind of changes into a background which has led them to where they are.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and no, so like I said, I actually I made a Tiefling paladin. I've got a whole backstory, and the push. He went through that whole story of, okay, well, forget this. I'm going to walk this path of light, and when those who come at me with the evil, I'll accept what they have to say, and I'll do my best to prove them wrong.
His character's 70 years old because he refers to it as the evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah.
Well, I kind of feel like in
you-
5th edition in particular, you're it pretty much has your starting your characters out at 18ish. Your first 3 levels of any class is kind of an apprenticeship, so a lengthy backstory for a campaign just starting out
Is a disservice.
It doesn't. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. I mean, how much has really happened? It kind of reminds me of, was it Eddie Murphy that does the bit about talking about what he did?
Yeah, about what he had to draw upon material for it.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
comedy.
yeah. He's
Eddie
like-
Murphy Raw.
Yeah.
that's the thing.
And at that point, he's only taken a crap in his life. So
Yeah.
that's all, he had
all
to
his
talk
jokes
about.
are about. Yeah, that's right. So
Well, I mean, there's nothing to say that you have to be, young. I mean, many of us here have actually made characters that are older, and they started upon the adventurous life, late in age. 2nd edition actually had rules for, stat bumps and stat
adjustments. Well, all the editions have had. 3rd edition absolutely had stat adjustments, and I'm sure we'll see something in the DMG for characters aging in this edition as well. So.
Well, so if, your but then your backstory would be like, I was a miller, or I was a blacksmith, or a wheelwright,
you could be
or a
a
fishmonger.
guild artisan, blacksmith, and be like, I'm gonna go fight evil.
I was Will Wheaton.
I was Will Wheaton.
I was Will Wheaton.
I'm
And
gonna
then I
go
heard the call.
smite evil with this hammer.
And now I am adventuring Will Wheaton.
But then again, in this edition too, well, you actually have the background. It's kind of
well,
built right in there and says, well, no, this is actually what you've been doing.
So for Ted's Tiefling, he could have said, I've gotten downtrodden a lot,
I've been
spit on.
where was the persecuted folk hero maybe?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he could be a folk hero. He could be.
Criminal background, because then you could have the redemption. So you still know
Yeah.
how to do these things, but you don't really do them anymore
Right.
actively. Yeah.
He's a wandering
I
gypsy
hung up my
Tiefling
thieves' tools.
for justice.
yeah.
Criminal paladin.
Yeah, you're a reformed criminal.
Well, if you're gonna do that, go with Urchin. I think they get a better selection of stuff. Just saying, and you can get a pet mouse.
Nice.
So you're like the Aladdin paladin of Tieflings. There you go. The diamond in the rough.
Dirty street rat.
Yeah.
I don't buy that. And he throws apples at people, because if I learned anything from the Aladdin video game, apples can kill people. I mean, it may take a few apples, but they will eventually die if you throw enough at them.
Are
Alright.
you sure that's not having the tavern brawler feat where you can improvise weapons?
Maybe. Well, but Aladdin's definitely an urchin, and he's just improvised weapon. Yeah. So, but yeah, you can use it. He's just not getting his proficiency bonus. That's all.
Man, throwing out food like that.
So I'm thinking that wraps up Tiefling.
when we
In
start
all
talking
its-
about video
in-
games.
in all its-
Aladdin.
and all its infernal, demonic,
So,
abyssal goodness.
You guys, comment,
No.
subscribe, share. Tell us what you think of the Tiefling or the Aladdin video game.
It was
As the
pretty
case may be.
Yeah, for Nintendo or Sega Genesis, it was awesome.
You guys can find us at nerdarchy.com and on any of the social media sites,
Yeah,
pretty
and we
much.
have a subreddit, Nerdarchy, how to stay nerdy.
And with that, until next time, my friends,
Stay nerdy.
So if you actually look at it, it does say, infernal bloodline, and it's clear cut. But that's kind of my, one of the things I didn't like is there should be no reason why you've got to limit it to only one side of the playing field.
I would have loved it if they would have did plain touched and did a couple sub races.
builds.
Yeah.
Well, you have the Asmar and the Tiefling.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that would have worked, but
I was actually surprised they didn't have the Asmar first. And
because those all kind of interbreed, and I would actually, if someone was like, I want to be a dwarf Tiefling, I would absolutely allow it. Does it change anything stat-wise? No. But
so it's like I'm either going to take after the Tiefling side or the dwarf side, one or the other. I'm just going to look a little odd, or
yeah. So thematically, though, for backstory and how your character looks, you could definitely play with that, and I thought that was interesting. It didn't quite do the third edition. I mean, not the third edition, the fourth edition.
because it's more blatantly good than
Yeah.
Although I kind of did find but never mind. It goes back to the Drizzt thing. But what I found
and then we just have to
interesting
take out the drow, and then it would be fine.
is the way the Tiefling bloodlines work, right? So, in theory, it's a human bloodline, but if a Tiefling has a child, it's a Tiefling.
Right.
Yeah.
So, certain races can breed with other races. So you could be like an elven Tiefling, or you could be an orc Tiefling. Iteration of the Tiefling. It's it's somewhere in between the original
right.
and fourth edition.
Right. Yeah.
Like in fourth edition, it was this it was a lot more specific. I felt like, where here it's a little more blanketed out. It's more dispersed. And I like the backstory that they give for the Tiefling in this one.
It's not bad. I looked at it as with most of the races in here, you have racial choices. The Tiefling, the half orc, and the half elf are the only.
Hey guys, it's Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nate, and with me I have my esteemed colleagues.
Ted?
Dave.
And Ryan.
And today we're going to be talking about Tieflings and their infernal heritage.
Well, that's the first thing to talk about. Why does it have to be just infernal? Seriously, why can't it just be lower planes? Why can't we all get along?
Well, it could be abysmal.
Well,
but they made the deal with Asmodeus.
They're infernally bound in this.